40 nights, he was fasting, he was spending quiet time with God, getting ready for the beginning of his ministry. And Satan came to him and he attacked him the hardest at his weakest moment after the 40 days. And there's a point when Satan tempts him 3 different times. And one of the specific times he says, I will literally give you everything in the world if you bow down and you worship me. And Jesus knows that God sent him down to this earth to die on the cross for our sins, right? But at the same time, he could have taken the easy way out, right? He could have taken it's like literally just instant gratification. Like, I'll just take all this stuff. Like if I bow down and worship Satan, he's going to give me all the riches of this world. I can just have it in an instance. I don't even have to die on that cross. I can just take that option. And I've just noticed in my life, and especially after hearing your story, like Satan does come and he tempts us the hardest right before the breakthrough in your life. And it's that moment when you feel the most hopeless, like, oh dude, I'm never going to meet a girl. I've been single for 4 years now. Like it's never going to happen. Satan starts just, dude, you can go back to your ex or like, just watch the porn, man. Exactly. Like you're never going to have sex again anyway. Right. And it's those moments when you feel the most hopeless that the best way to reframe it is like, I'm the closest to the breakthrough that God has for me in my life. I just need to stick it out just one more day, one more week, one more month. And the longer that you remain faithful, that's really what it is. You're just remaining faithful to God's promises. Like he doesn't promise that you're going to have a wife, but he does promise if you seek him and his righteousness, that all the things that you need in your life will be added unto you. Right.
Yeah. No, that was such a fantastic point. And how I view it as well, guys, too, is Jesus in the garden, right? Before he was, of course, crucified and then rose 3 days later, like before he was able to wipe clean all the sins, he had to go through that just gruesome anxiety. And so, no, it's 100% true, guys. If you are going through anxieties, if you're with anything really financially, I went through the same thing financially as well. Just keep holding on, man. Easier said than done. But what I will say is, look, I really do believe that this is setting ripples in the Christian community, because I truly believe I would have been the last guy to get married. The last guy. And if God can add a wife or relationship onto me, then like my faith in men, if they follow this correctly, them getting married has exponentially quadrupled. I always believed it, but it's just another thing to really see it come full circle. So yeah, if you are a man, what I would say, I just made a video on this now, although everything Braden and I are saying is true, you still need to put in the work as far as really being okay being single and alone, like really just being content, serving the Lord, building the kingdom. And the way I see it is, when God sees fit that you're ready, you've put in enough work, you actually require a helpmate. A lot of you guys, unfortunately, we'll speak more about this later in the podcast, a lot of men don't require a helpmate, and that's a hard pill to swallow. Like for myself, for the first 4 years, here's the thing too, guys, here's one little tip I'll say. I think you're ready for your future wife soon, when not only you're going through those spiritual attacks, but like, it just logically makes sense to have a helpmate. Like my first few years, it really didn't make sense. I didn't have any finances. So like I knew I wasn't going to support her. I had kind of everyone in my life that I needed. But the second I met Mallory, my videographer left, he kind of had to go. The finances started to come. I had all these like spots, almost kind of like you're an employer, right? And you now have all these open opportunities that you need to be filled, right? Side tasks, whatever it is. So if you're in that situation, that position, I would definitely say that's a sign. But again, the last thing I want to say, do not overthink it. Don't overfixate on it. Don't be like, well, you know, I have this and this and this, therefore it's coming. Don't, because I was not thinking about it at all, and it'll just smack you out of nowhere. So go for it.
Yeah, I'd love for you to speak into, because I know that Christ Develop really started to take off, you know, probably like around last summer going into the winter, right? And I just thought it was interesting because whenever you mention like all of a sudden Christ Develop's really taken off, I'm getting all these donations, I'm starting to like get all this money, not in like a, you know, like an idolatrous way, but it's like, you're like, what do I even do with this money? Why, God, like, why am I being blessed with these finances? And, you're telling me that, you know, it was for a reason. It was because God wanted you to meet Mallory and to actually be able to have the financial resources to not only pay your own bills, but to be able to leave Canada, right? To move here, to get married, to buy an engagement ring. And that's, you know, it's not cheap, right? Boys, it's not cheap at all. So speak into like just going through that and like what guys should be looking out for to actually know if they're ready for like that kind of relationship.
Yeah, great. So the first thing I will say, guys, is now that I'm looking back in hindsight, because again, this all happened so fast, and when I was going through it, I had no clue what was going on. But I would say if God continues to bless you financially, more so than what you're used to. Like I was fine, kind of getting by, paying the bills, whatever. I was living, decently comfortably. I had a grasp on it. And then just out of nowhere, come around September time, like again, right before I met her, everything kind of just like bloomed up. And I was like, okay, well, it makes sense. Like I put in the work, cool. But I look back in hindsight now and it makes complete sense. So that's another testimony to you guys too. I think what's really cool about this marriage in particular is it just, obviously I always believed in God. I always knew he worked. That was undeniable. And maybe even Mallory can attest to this as well. When we did the courting process the past 2 months, just everything leading up to it, from before, from during, from the marriage itself. When people ask like, how did it happen? I just say, I can't take credit. It's as simple as that. Like, yes, I put in my work. I put in my due diligence. Yes, guys, I still worked. I worked the labor. I put in the time. But it really has been beautiful. And excuse me if I look a little tired, guys. We had a long day today. There's been a lot the past few weeks. Let's even speak of later to the spiritual warfare as far as like when you actually do get married, because there have been a lot of attacks, guys. Like I realize more now than ever. And again, it's only been a week and a half, so bear with me. But like Satan and the world, and I'm going to be honest, guys, and say, unfortunately, a lot of Christians hate marriage, hate it.
Yeah.
And we can touch on that, but I don't know if you want to say something.
Yeah. Well, why do you think that is?
Simply because it is the embodiment of Christ and his church, and anything that further exemplifies Christ, like the further you go down your path and whatever that means is, you're going to get attacked. And usually it's just from people who